Good morning, Angie. It is so lovely to see you. I kind of feel like we really ought to be able to see you down the road because you're actually really close to us. It's so nice to be talking to someone who's pretty close by. And I would imagine the weather's looking glorious in Weston today.
Not yet. We've got the sea mist at the moment, but so sadly no. But I am assured it's going to improve because I've still got my washing on the line from last night that didn't dry. So
there's nothing wrong with having that final misty rinse in the morning.
No, I'm going to have to put up with it.
Awesome. So it is lovely to welcome you onto the call today. So whether it's on our video interview or whether someone's listening to this as a podcast, I'm really proud to be able to introduce you to the Tip the Balance community as one of our newest referral partners.
Thank you, Beck. And I'm really, really honoured to be here. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Fab, thank you. The whole vision of the Clinic Without Walls was to be able to put people in touch with the right kind of people. And to me, the thing that matters most about that is the human beings behind the business. So the purpose of these podcasts and these interviews is to showcase you, not just as Angie Hayes Therapy, but to showcase you as a human being. So let's start digging under the surface, shall we?
Okay, let's get to it.
Before we talk about Angie Hayes Therapy and how that came about and how you can help all of our clients, tell us a little bit more about you as a human being.
Right, as a human being, well, I'm first and foremost, I'm wife to Andy, mum to two wonderful stepchildren. When I say stepchildren, they're all grown up. I've got a stepson, Ollie, and he lives and works in Berlin, and a stepdaughter, Danny. She's in her late 30s, 38 now. Ollie's 32, going on 33. Danny's is into her animals. She works for a vet company selling pharmaceuticals, and she loves her triathlon. So she's taken after her dad. Andy's a keen triathlete, keen sports person. So they're my immediate family now, but I have been married. This is my second marriage. And a little bit more about me as a person. A lot of people think I'm a really strong and resilient person, and 99% of the time I am, but that's because I've had to be in my life, had a lot of difficult things that I've been through in my life, been married to a narcissist, had a very dysfunctional family background. So there's all sorts of things that have gone on in my life that have kind of formed me as a person, I suppose. I've had a lot of difficult circumstances, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people, because I've navigated them. I found ways of navigating them and becoming my own person. And that's one thing that's very, very important to me, is that people become their own person, not doing what they think other people think they should be doing, but doing what resonates with them. And that's my passion, is doing that, because I've had to find my way, and I can be the shortcut for other people to find that way.
It's incredible, isn't it, how many people work in our field and they do that because they've had to find a way through. It's not about what we've been through in life type thing. It's we've found a way through the stuff. Everyone's got stuff, but we found a way through the stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Passionate about sharing that with other people. So how did hypnotherapy first show up in your life, or was it very much therapy that showed up in your life and then you started to explore the different areas?
I sought out Solution Focused Hypnotherapy myself. And as I said earlier, I always considered myself to be a highly resilient and resourceful person. And I'd gotten through all of this stuff with my family, toxic relationships with my siblings, with my dad in particular. Married to a narcissist, decided to leave him. And at that time, excuse me, I sought a bit of counselling to help me through the process. But essentially, I made the decision that this is going to hurt, but he's got to go because he's just bad news. I found my fight again, and I just thought I'm quite a resilient, resourceful person. And then when I hit my sort of late 30s, early 40s, I became physically unwell. I suffer with this condition called hemochromatosis, which is it's iron overload. Basically, your body doesn't deal with iron. And because they discovered it in my sister, and it's genetic, it's a genetic thing, I was tested and found positive. So I had to go through this period of getting rid of as much blood as possible. So I was constantly anemic, constantly feeling low. And at that time, I then couldn't do all the things I loved, like all my releases, like my running and my training and my weight training. It all had to go. I didn't have the energy. And then when I got low, it was really interesting. But not only was I having to deal with, that was a huge thing for me because it was a huge part of my life at that time and I had to give it up. So it was my release valve, my coping strategy, if you like, and my passion. But then I started getting bullied at work because I used to work in the corporate world in banking. And the sort of two things came together because I'd always in my corporate life, I always ended up managing people and being the go-to person when people had issues, whether they were personal or work related or career related. I was always that go-to person. So that was one thing I was very clear about, was that I loved that side of things. But then I started getting into trouble myself. And the thing was, at the time, and I find this with a lot of people out there, they don't actually realize that they're struggling with their mental health. They know something's off, but they don't really know what it is because they've never come across it before, because they've never been in that situation where they're thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I don't know what I'm feeling, but I know something's off. I know I'm not happy, and I know I'm not feeling right. And the thing was, for me, I'd fought all these battles on my own, all these traumas, and I felt this is one trauma I just can't fight anymore. I haven't got it in me to fight this at the moment on my own.
It doesn't make sense, does it, when you've got through this and this and this and this, and you've really dug deep, and you've had to find strength.
Yes.
It's such a familiar story. I can resonate on both personal and professional level that know you've had to find that strength. So how come now I can't?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we hear it so often, don't we?
Yeah, and it is because of, it's absolutely, now I know what I know, and I've learned what I've learned and trained in the way I have. You know, the way our minds work is that 90% of the time we're fine. We can find solutions, but there is that time when things build up over a period of time. It doesn't, people think we get into trouble because we have a sudden trauma, a big thing, like a bereavement or a car accident or something like that. But actually, it's a steady build-up of things over the years that can actually tip the balance, tip you over the edge. And then you're in this part of your mind operating from there in survival mode. And you just can't find a way out. Once you get locked into that, you can't find a way out. And that's where I was. But I didn't know that at the time.
It is such a misconception that it doesn't have to be that one catastrophic event. So many people sit there, but there was no big thing. So how come I feel like this? That whole cause and effect doesn't make sense to them.
No.
But it truly is that compounding effect of so many little battles that we've had to step up and step into and step out of. And
absolutely. And it depends what support you've got around you as well. But the interesting thing about that as well, Beck, was that there were so many people around me that wouldn't have had a clue I felt broken. So many people I would not have spoken to about it. And at that time, I don't regret that in a way, but I should have reached out to people I trusted a little bit more. But I've always been a very self-sufficient person because I've had to be, because when you can't trust your own family members, then you do get a little bit more reserved, I think. But the one thing I didn't want was to go to the doctor and be told, oh, you're a bit depressed, and be put on a load of pills, or go to counselling and talk about all of the past. I dealt with it. I didn't feel I needed to bring all that up again. That wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to find a way forward.
Is that where solution focused therapy? Tell us a little bit more about that, because you're very specific, aren't you, about that kind of therapy and the power.
I am, because Absolutely, because I do solution focused brief therapy, which is purely talking therapy, and I also do solution focused hypnotherapy. But they're both born from the same approach, if you like. Solution focused brief therapy came first. Solution focused hypnotherapy takes all of the best parts of that NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and other approaches with hypnosis. So it's kind of an amalgamation of approaches, but it takes the most effective and best parts of all of them. But what solution focus is about is saying, well, yeah, you're in this place now. Where would you like to be? Not how did you get here? So we don't go back into the past and say, well, how did you get there? Analyze the past and look at what actually happened and how your thinking could be different in that situation. So you bring that new thinking forward with you. Because for some people, it works really well. Mm-hmm. For some people, they love that analytical approach to really getting into the nitty-gritty, if you'll pardon the expression, of what created this world of crap they may find themselves in. But for most of us, what that does is it keeps you stuck in the problem where you relive it and you get upset because your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, that very primitive survival part of your brain. Mm. So when you keep reliving it, it thinks it's happening now. And it brings it all back to an extent. So when you look forward and you say, well, how do you want things to be now? You're kind of getting people to access their own thinking and think about life from a totally different perspective. Because what actually happens, if the best way I can describe it is, if you imagine, I see a lot of people who've been in similar situations to me where they've got terrible toxic relationships within their families and they just don't know how to handle it because they got a lot of pressure from the family to just ignore the person because they don't want them to fall out, because they want the family to be able to get together as a unit. But in that situation, the person that's being picked on is taking one for the team all the time, aren't they? Really? While it's okay for everyone else and they can handle it, it might not be okay for you. It might not be the way you expect to be treated. Yeah. This is what I mean about becoming your own person. But it's all very well for me to then sit here and say, well, don't take one for the team, be your own person and don't put up with it. You know, it's got to be in a way that resonates with you, that you are comfortable with. So it has to come from your thinking, yeah, and your view of the world and your perspective about how things should be better. So that when I'm not in anyone's head, yeah, they're in their head. They are the expert on them. You are the expert on you. Which is why I'm very passionate about not giving people too much advice as well. It's not an advice-led approach. Insight and perspective, yes. Advice, never. Because I think that is, we have it drummed into us that actually that takes away a person's agency to make their own changes. Yeah, and it's very, it's very arrogant, really. For us to say, well, just go off and do this.
This is what you need to do, sort this.
Because you've got to want to do it. You've got to feel you can. You've got to feel you have the resources to do it. And that's the key. This approach puts people back in touch with who they are and their resource pool, which they've lost touch with.
Yeah, it kind of takes away some of that shoulda, woulda, coulda nonsense that we get so wrapped up in, doesn't it? And I think it's really interesting that you talk about not being the driver of that journey, if you like, and absolutely being very clear that person that you're working with has all that they need within them to take their life in the direction that they want. Because when we sort of turn our attention to hypnotherapy, people have some quite, I guess, in some respects, skewed views about what that actually is. There are so many things that happen on television and in the media that you as a professional would just think, really?
Yeah.
Not helping. So I would imagine there are people that consider hypnotherapy and it almost passes in front of them on a conveyor belt. Oh no, I couldn't do that. Because I've seen this and I've seen that and I've seen people, I'm really sorry, but are clucking around like chickens and
jumping, barking like dogs, that
make you cringe. And It's
I
lovely.
do get asked that question. Am I going to cluck like a chicken? I have been asked that question.
Yeah, you do, because this is exactly it, isn't it? It's the whole, you are the driver of this journey. You know, it's what we can draw out from inside you to take you and your life where you want it to go. And having that faith in anyone that we're working with, that they've got all this inside them. You just want to help them to draw
it is
out.
there.
And that must be quite reassuring for people, that you're saying from the start, no, I'm putting you in the driver's seat here, and I'm not necessarily your navigator and you know, your map reader. I'll be your co-pilot, sits there and feeds you sweets if you need them, and give you a drink, and, you know, give you your sustenance.
Absolutely.
But I'm not here to tell you which direction to go. And also, you know, if you were blindfolded, I'm not trying to explain life ahead of you. I would imagine that there's a certain vulnerability in taking that step into the world of hypnotherapy, like there is with any kind of therapy. It's so much about trust, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing, first and foremost, for any therapy to work is that you need to have some form of connection with the therapist, and you need to trust them. That trust is paramount, because if you don't trust them and you can't be open with them, it's not going to work for you. And so often I hear horror stories, and I even hear of people in my own field that do this, that become too embroiled in the person's life and problem. No, it's getting that balance. You know, you've got to have that lovely mutual trust and respect. And that therapist needs to resonate with you. They need to resonate with you on a level, I can really work with this person. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm quite honest and open and upfront. And some people want more of a there, softly, hold your hand approach. And that's fine. You know, everyone's got to make changes in their own pace and in their own time. And it's really important that, you know, we understand that this isn't always a race. We have to just change, like you always say, Beth, one thing. We just need to change one thing at a time. And then from that, you see the progress, then you see the confidence grow, and then you want more progress. And then it kind of starts really rippling out then. And you can see results really, really quickly. But first and foremost, you've got to resonate with that person. And some people have this kind of white coat syndrome, I call it, where they see the therapist as the expert. No, they're not. They are certainly not. That is just crap. I'm sorry. They're not the expert on you. You are.
Yeah.
Don't ever let someone tell you what to do or how you should be doing it. We're there to go on a journey together to explore who you are, what resonates with you, what's important to you, what motivates you. What do you love about yourself? What's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? How did you manage to do that? What is there within you that's so amazing that you got through that? Because all people do is they kind of lose touch with all of that. Because, I'm so shit, I'm in this place. How have I got myself in this situation? I'm crap. I don't know what, I can't live my life properly. I'm useless at this life thing. We all are. We all lose our way. So hypnotherapy then is another matter, because quite often there's this misconception that I'm going to rewire somebody's brain, and it's a bit like a fast track, taking a tablet and boom, you get the answer out there. No, it's not. Clinical hypnosis is very different to stage hypnosis. Yeah, stage hypnosis, the hypnotist, they're not hypnotherapists, they are hypnotists, they're magicians. They use sleight of hand. They work with the way the brain works to catch you off guard. So as your brain's catching up all the time, you are gradually getting more and more embroiled in what they're doing, rather than having control over what you're doing. And they are in the driving seat. It's their agenda. They want a good show. They're going to get you doing what they want you to do. With clinical hypnosis, I want you to take on the suggestions that are right for you. So nobody, the important thing to remember is nobody can be hypnotized against their will. Nobody can. Regardless, I don't care whether you go to a show on a cruise ship, I don't care whether you see a show on the TV, all of those people are planted. They have to go through suggestibility tests before they are put in front of an audience, because those people are up for it. They're up for a laugh. They're up for making a complete fool of themselves. They love to be the centre of attention. And if they love that, then they're really happy to be put under, yeah, and told what to do. But it wouldn't, there's no way they get me to do it. I just be starting, I'm wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. It's not happening, you know. I just wouldn't do it. I'm not that sort of person. But some people love it. And they have to make sure that you are that person before the show. Otherwise, they'd have a rubbish show, wouldn't they?
So being hypnotized, hypnosis, and hypnotherapy, are they all the same thing? But the way that that is done and the environment in which that is done makes it very, very different. Where you've got clinical hypnotherapy or hypnosis and the whole stage show. Yeah.
So with clinical hypnotherapy, it's none of this rapid induction you're under. It's very slow, gradual relaxation, into a trance. And all trances is replicating REM sleep. Because when we're in our REM sleep pattern, our rapid eye movement sleep pattern, we're dreaming. When we're dreaming, we are processing crap. If you imagine, I always say we've got one brain and two minds, and one mind up here. This is the nice logical cerebral cortex, logical, accurate. When we're up here, life's great. And then we got the bloody primitive bit down here, the survival instinct, the chimp, I call him. Hold on a second. I've got my little mate here. Oh, here he is.
Love it.
The chimp, okay? And when he's in charge, boy, oh boy, do we get into trouble? Yeah. So, but what happens is when we sleep, you see, this is the brain of emotions, this. Thoughts, emotions, feelings. So when we get annoyed about something, it all goes straight in here, doesn't it? Oh, that person's really upset me. What will happen in your REM sleep is, just say someone really peed you off during the day, and you came home and you said to Adam, God, that person's really annoyed me. And he said, oh, just forget about it. He's an idiot. And you said, I can't. I
want to go through this a few times. Yeah.
And then you'll go to bed, go to sleep. And in your REM sleep pattern, your brain will process that from here up into here where you get control over it. And you wake up the next day and you'll say, well, why did I get so upset about him? He's just an idiot. Because you've processed it. That's what REM sleep is. And that's kind of what we're doing with hypnosis. We're cementing the solution focused conversation we've had so that you can process all the emotion out of it and get it into a perspective that's right for you. And more often than not, people who are going through a mentally tough time don't sleep well, do they?
No.
They either sleep too much and they can't get out of bed, or and that's really, that process takes a lot of energy. So they're processing so much stuff that they're always knackered. Or if they're highly anxious, then they're waking up in the middle of the night and they're wide awake and they can't sleep. So that's all hypnosis is. It's replicating REM sleep. It's working with how our brains work, and it's getting us to access back into that logic and reason and intelligence. But it's not always a quick process. It depends on the person and it depends on what you're dealing with. So it's not a re-engineer your brain jobby and off you go.
Off you pop, you're done.
You'll be fine now.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that. So in terms of your sort of client journey, and obviously every client is different and they're coming from a different place and they're going, more importantly, to a different place. But in terms of your sort of client journey, how does that sort of unfold?
Well, in many different ways, really. But essentially, I offer, on my website, people can book a 15-minute free initial chat. So that's the first thing. We just have a chat, because I don't want anyone to be out there having therapy that they don't want or need. And they may not actually need therapy. They may just need to chat something through and be pointed in the right direction towards something. It's not always necessary therapy that's the answer here. But then if they want to come in and see me, if we're going down some people don't want trance, they don't want to be hypnotized, that's fine. We can do solution focused brief therapy. If we're doing that, we can get straight down to it and they can book in a session. And if we're going down that route, the first question I will ask them, and I always say to be prepared, because the first question I'm going to ask you is, what are your best hopes from us talking and working together? And not 9 times out of 10, I don't know, because people haven't thought about what they actually want to achieve. They think about the problem all the time. So I say, what are your best hopes? And then I say, and what difference would that make if you had that? Yeah, and then we start getting right into that preferred future. What does your preferred future look like? And that's where we stay. And of course, it doesn't mean we're problem phobic. It doesn't mean we don't acknowledge there's a problem and how dreadful it was. What we say is, so what are we going to do about it? How are we going to help you to deal with it in a way that's right? You and I are very
passionate about this, aren't we? About not people in the sticky past. And, you know, if
because it's gone, it can't hurt you. You've survived it. You're still here. You survived it. It's gone. You know, it's not coming back. Thank God. So this is your time to. This is your moment now, to kind of like, what's for me next now? You know, what does life look like now? What do I want? You know, and I see this wonderful transformation so often in people that, especially because I do Solution Focused Therapy is a great thing to do with couples.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I do couples therapy. It's a great thing to do with couples because they come in with the problem and they start arguing about the problem. You know, it's like, well, what do you want to achieve? What do you want your relationship to look like? Yeah.
That's so fab.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know. Well, I want us to stop arguing, you know. Well, yeah. So what if you weren't arguing? What would be different? How would you be behaving differently? Because this is the key to this. If you were living the life you wanted to, you'd be behaving totally differently.
Yeah.
You'd get up in the morning, you'd feel energized, you'd feel motivated, you'd be going to the gym, you'd be doing this, and you know you would. You know what you'd be doing. You're the expert on you. But you're not doing it because you're stuck in this mindset, and we get you out of that mindset. So with the hypnotherapy side of it, I normally take people through an initial consultation where I do a total brain education on them. So then that sounds horrible. It's like frontal lobotomy, doesn't it? But it's not like that.
The sound of that.
And we just talk about exactly how that brain works. We talk a bit more about him and the impact that he has in a lot more detail, and how their problem has been created in the mind. If it's a phobia, you know, it's very different from an eating disorder, from something like OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, to generalized anxiety and depression, you know, but they all come from here, but we all get there in a slightly different way.
Yeah. And it's that education, it's very easy, isn't it, to just leap straight into the fix. And I don't like that word, but you know what I mean? To leap straight into the fix. But education is such an empowering thing, isn't it? Because
it is.
Do you find that there's an element then of forgiveness? The more we understand about the way that our brain works, there's an element of forgiveness of, so this isn't about me not coping then.
No, it's about your brain doing what it was designed to do, but it just gets, in today's world, it gets very confused.
Yeah.
You know, we've got all these blimmin' substances that send it haywire. You know, if we drink too much booze, or we take too many drugs, or smoke too many fags, it doesn't recognize these things. It doesn't know what they are, and we keep doing this to ourselves. Structures that we're using on. It's just like, what's going on here? I'll tell you what, I'll just stop producing all my happy, you know, happy hormones and neurotransmitters, and I'll just want that more and more. So that's what it's doing to us. And it's not just that. The media, you know, we're bombarded with information. We're bombarded with narcissism almost. So people, look how great life is for me. Well, really? You know, it isn't always like that. Social media posts are very contrived, aren't they? You know, they're not always, but sometimes they are very contrived.
Yeah,
people only tend to post the good
want
stuff.
To put out there, but not necessarily the reality.
They don't post the shit, do they? I'm having a shit day, although one of my friends does, but then she's allowed to. She's going through a bereavement at the moment. Just, I'm having a shit day. And you go, oh my God.
Well, it's back to school time, isn't it, this morning? But you're not going to see photographs on social media of those parents that have literally had to bribe their children to put their uniform on and to get out of the door, and you know what it's taken to get out of the beautiful first day.
Absolutely.
you know, you don't see the families that are not getting to send their children to school for one reason or another. You don't see that reality. So yeah, social media does skew our sense of reality so much.
It does. And that's why, you know, we have all these things now that get us into this place where we're just bombarded, you know, with I think one of the most important things to remember for anyone out there who might be struggling, my little nugget of advice is that one of the reasons we get into trouble is because as humans, we need autonomy and control in our lives. We need to feel that we are directing our lives, and that you know, we have a certain amount of say over what happens. And if you're in a job, or you're in a relationship, or you're in a situation where you're poorly, and all the power and control is being taken away from you, I'm not surprised that you are feeling shit at the moment. I'm really not surprised, because your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to help you survive. But the trouble is, you get used to this. I'm not going to do anything, because if I don't do anything, I'll stay safe. And it gets into this kind of mode of keeping you safe. But it's not appropriate safety. It's inappropriate safety. So one of the things we do when we have this initial chat is I give people a trance recording to go away with, to start listening to straight away. And that's totally complimentary. So that this can start that process of getting the trance actually gets the two parts of the mind to cooperate and work together rather than fighting against one another. It starts getting them cooperating, and then things start calming down a bit. Yeah, so it kicks that process off straight away before we have the first session.
And so much is about quietening, for so many people, quietening the mind.
Yes.
Would be so wonderful for them.
I just wish, and we're all guilty of this, I'm equally as guilty as anyone else, I just wish we'd spend as much time looking after our brains as we did the rest of our body physically, because it is a physical part of our body. If we just looked after all those things, those lovely things that you do, you know, going out and walking in nature, going to meditation, people think it's woo-woo. It's not woo-woo. It really isn't woo-woo. It's just designed to get that primitive brain to shut him off, shut him out, and put him in his box. He's only meant to be there, yeah, when a lorry's coming to you at 90 miles an hour and you're thinking, right, here we go, you've got to be out there now. And then when the danger's over, he needs to go back in his box. But what happens to us is he gets stuck there on red alert all the time, looking out, the next thing. And then you start taking everything people say personally. And, you know, you're looking out for the behavior, you know, and it's just a horrible place to be. It's a horrible, horrible place to be. And if we just took that time out to look after this part of our body like we would any other, you know, I think we'd have far less mental health issues in this world than we do at the moment.
Kindness and compassion to every part of our
definitely.
Inside would make
it's a holistic whole.
Absolutely.
And you know what's going on in here, if it's bad, it's aging you. So if you're spending a fortune on you know,
all the outside stuff,
all the outside creams and stuff, forget it. If this is bombarded with stress and cortisol, you know, adrenaline, cortisol, it's going to age you.
Absolutely.
Get this in the right place. You'll have a whale of a time. You'll look 10 years younger.
So in terms of the other myth, I guess it's not even just about the myths around hypnotherapy, is it? It's a lot of the myths and misconceptions around therapy as a whole. Already you've smashed one of them, in that actually your style of therapy isn't about, you know, so many people are like, oh, I'm not sitting in a room and picking it all over, you know, it's not the navel gazing, looking back. Already you've said, no, this is about where is life going to go? This is the path ahead of you, not the one that you've already trodden. So what else would you love to kind of get out there in terms of the things that make you go, when you know your profession and the things that you're passionate about and the tools that you have that you know are so powerful, when they sort of fly in front of people with the wrong image, you know, what do you want to, I tell you what, my number one bugbear
is you'll go on an NHS site, and I'm not decrying what the NHS do at all. I think they're a wonderful organisation. However, you'll go on the NHS website and say, oh, you need to see somebody who's got a degree in psychology. Mm-hmm. Well, really? Let me tell you just what my experience is, that I've worked across a broad spectrum with these people. I've been on all sorts of training courses with people who have got doctorates in psychology. They're lovely people. They do a fabulous job. Some of them are great at what they do. Mm. Just because you've got that doctorate in psychology, it doesn't make you a good psychologist. It might make you very good at research. Now, when I was, for example, but it might not make you good at understanding how shit people's lives can be, because many of these people gone from a lovely family background, they've been to university, mummy and daddy have given them all the support in the world, and this is lovely if this is your life. I'm not decrying anyone that life. I think I want everyone to have a happy life. You know, I'm not saying you need to go through shit to be a better person at all, but the thing some of these people lack is empathy, and real understanding of how that person in front of them is feeling. Mm-hmm. And they tend to see them as a little bit of a project. Oh, now, and I saw this in action when I was doing my diploma in Solution Focused Brief Therapy. I did that diploma with an awful lot of people who already had their degrees in psychology. And I can quite honestly say this, I'm just going to be candid about this. I trained with some of the best people that do this stuff. Elliot Connie, Chris Iveson. Yeah, he's just the most amazing guy from Brief International. I trained with Brief International. I had access to all of these people, and I was on a training call towards the end of the course. I think we've been going about 10 weeks of a 13-week course. And one of these people with a doctorate asked a question, and I sat there and I thought, are you really asking that question? You know, we covered that 8 weeks ago. Haven't you got it? You know, what's the problem? And even Chris Iveson said to this guy, if you haven't got the concept of what this therapy is about by now, I don't think you should be thinking about practicing it. Because they overthink, and they're more interested in how it works rather than putting it into practice and getting it to work. Yeah, they're so into the ins and outs of the practical application of it, and the process, rather than the person that's on the receiving end of this. And it's not their fault. They're not doing it consciously. They just come at it from a totally different
And I guess that's the risk, coming at it from an academic background, that it is all about, like, I need to understand the theory of it in and out.
Absolutely.
And actually what matters is the application of it. And yes, obviously
it is the application.
you need to have adopted the theory of it to do that, but it's also,
and it's
never going to be the same with every person, is it? You've got to feel your way through the process. But then I guess if you're a more kinesthetically led person, that's an instinct for us, isn't it? That we just feel our way through. And we're also using these tools, and we adopt them as tools rather than theories. They are tools. They are tools that we can use to help someone to plan out that future.
Absolutely. So someone might, some people say to me, what's my therapy plan going to be? And I say, we don't do a therapy plan as such. We're going to see what comes up, because I never know what's going to come up in a session.
Well, I was going to ask you about this.
So, I never know. I might send somebody out of the door who's perfectly happy, and they'll come in and they'll say, oh God, I've got another problem developed now. And, this has happened in the last week. And and one of the common things is I've had a real blip. I've had a setback, and I'm like, great. Because what's happening is he's beginning to understand that you're trying to get control of him, and he's not. So he's having his final meltdown, and I'm glad that's happened, because he's beginning to understand who's controlling this, and it's not him. A tantrum. And so he's just having that final tantrum to see if he can get away with it. And I said, and it's happened in therapy, which is great. Because now we can really deal with it.
So being able to have the freedom with your clients then of you know, this isn't a fixed term that we're working together. This is what we have, you know, that initially, as you say, there's a chat, there's that initial consultation. We've got these elements of education that are really important to get in there early doors. But then again, it's that safe, trusting environment of, look, as we peel the layers off this onion,
yes, absolutely,
we're going wherever this is taking us,
yes.
because, you know, we're looking forward, but that doesn't mean that that path is a completely smooth one. Yeah, and there's going to be bumps, and every now and then the odd banana is going to fly in from one side because Chimp's not happy, you know. But I guess that's also reassuring for people that they're not on a timescale of, oh, actually, you know, I might be with you for an hour today, but I've only got 3 sessions left and I don't feel like I'm sorted yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes what can happen is people have to make change in their own time and in their own space. So, I mean, I've been working with one lady and we've had 3 lots of sessions because she's had so much to get through. We've had to deal with it in bits. So, you know, she may have had 10 sessions in one go and then had a break for a few months, and then, right, I'm strong, I feel stronger now, and I'm ready to tackle this now. You know, it doesn't have to be this going on for months thing. You can stop and start it. But most people, I see changes in most people after about 5 sessions. Sometimes it's 3. Sometimes it's more. I mean, if it's a really ingrained mental health issue like an eating disorder, that can take longer, because it's baby steps with people who are struggling with something like that. You know, they're in a very bad place. They've generally gotten into that place because they've been bullied in some way about their weight generally, although not always. And they're really down on themselves, and trying to lift them out of that takes time. I mean, some therapists will do blocks of 5 sessions. I don't do that because I want my clients to be in control, because they may not need 5 sessions.
Yeah.
It might just be a waste of bloody time. You know, we're talking about the weather for the last 2, and it's just taking money on false pretenses.
But it also contradicts exactly what you said at the start of you are the driver of this journey. It's like, you are the driver of this journey, but I'm putting a toll booth here and another one here. So just being able to roll out that journey according to what that, you know, what makes sense. It's such a freeing thing, isn't it? We can't package everybody's journey up into a neat,
of course you can't.
And nor should we feel we have to, or they feel that they're on that time scale to, you know, right, you've got 6 weeks to get this sorted. If it's a bit big for 6 weeks, then you're going to have to do 12. It's just this sort of let's see where this journey goes.
Yeah, exactly, because people may find it's not working for them. It doesn't work for everybody. I mean, solution focused therapies are between 70 and 80% effective. Surprisingly, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and counselling have been proven to be about 50% effective. So, you know, but that's over a much wider range of people that have it, because it is the go-to therapy used by the NHS, because it's one of the most research and peer-reviewed research has been done on. But solution focus is catching up big time. It really is. So many people are going over to it now because it's much more effective, it's much quicker, and it's much kinder on the person. It gets them thinking in a totally different way. I mean, I'll just give you a little example of a client I've been working with recently, and I've checked with him and he's more than happy for me. I'm not mentioning names or break any confidentialities, but it's just important for people, I think, to understand that when your head's in that bad place, you really believe you want something to remain. You don't want things to change. Okay, we hate change. He hates change. He sees it as a threat, so he'll keep you in a relationship or saying, "Oh, you can't leave." Okay, so this guy came to me with a dependency on alcohol, drugs, fags. Lived with a partner who was an alcoholic. She'd just booted him out. He was having temper rages, all this sort of stuff going on, and she was treating him absolutely abysmally. And he's the most amazing person. And this is the sad thing. I sit there and I see these amazing people in front of me, and they don't believe in themselves, and they don't think they are amazing, and they think they're the person with the problem, and then they don't perceive the way they're being treated isn't right, because he was so in love with her that he'd do anything, you know, anything to stay with her. And she kicked him out. She's seeing another man who's an alcoholic. He tried to do everything to help her so that she could keep her children, because she wanted to have her children with her. They'd been taken away, and yet she abused him. She was horrible to him, and he wanted to stay with her. We've had about 10 sessions now. He's kicked the booze, he's kicked the drugs, he's even stopped. He was abused in his past. So he used to have nightmares about running away and being a chicken. So he was on medication to stop him having dreams. He's come off his dream medication. He's having good dreams. We've worked on self-love and self-worth. That's the key thing we've worked on. And I asked him in his last session, so if she wanted you back now, would you go with her? He said, absolutely not. He said, I want my own place. I want my own life. And I'm not going to pick somebody like that again to spend my time with. That's what I mean about becoming your own person. And he's recognized that all of his behaviors were triggered because of the way he was being treated. Mm. And everyone said, oh, you've got a problem. You've got a problem. But he was being attacked. And, you know, here we go. I'm under attack. I need to do something. I need to survive. I need to do something to help me because I'm under attack. Yeah.
It's really interesting what you say about that acknowledgement that part of us wants to stay and part of us can't change. Because when you talk about, you know, we look at self-compassion, we look at self-love, we look at self-care. For so many people, they're like, oh, I can't, you know, because they think so little of themselves, whether that's an ingrained thing themselves or other influences have meant that that is the case. Those are hard things. They're tough.
They are, but do you know, they're not. Once you just decide to make that change, you take that first step, it flows. And
with the support of someone to help you realise it's tiny little things that do add up and make a difference. Sometimes we will acknowledge that it's those tiny things that have all built up to get us into trouble. But we won't acknowledge that the tiny steps that we take back in the other direction will bring us back to a good place. It's almost we won't let ourselves believe that.
No, we won't.
Which is why working with someone like you that will just keep going, that's
amazing. That's amazing. You're amazing. You are. For anyone listening out there, let me tell you now, I don't care who you are, where you've come from or what's going on in your life, you are an amazing person and you've got the most amazing resource pool within you, and you've just lost touch with it.
Yeah.
And it is in there, and that is part of who you are. Yeah, just think of the most difficult thing you've ever come through in your life and think about how you did that, because those resources that you use to get through that, you can put in any situation. You can transfer them in any situation that you find yourself in. I mean, I know for me, when I went through the process, I only had about 5 sessions. I got all my fight back. Mm. And I dispatched this bully. I mean, there would have been a time I would never have put up with a bully. And I soon dispatched them through all the proper channels at work and got them into quite a bit of trouble because their behavior, she was quite a senior manager and her behavior was shocking. And I thought, no, but I just couldn't do it at the time. I just couldn't do it. I was just like, oh, so down on myself and taking all this crap from other people. And all of a sudden I emerged back out like a, flower blossoming out. Like, no, I'm back and I'm not having it.
Exactly. And it's that sensation of those sand walls coming in.
Yeah.
It's such, it is that whole drowning, suffocating, all of those things. I can't hold it off. I can't hold it away.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just knowing that you're not in that hole on your own.
No,
and that there's someone there that's helping and supporting you with that, and someone that has that you can language. It's that counteract. It's that counter voice to the little voices that are creating all those doubts. It's that little chimp voice going, don't think you can, you haven't done it before, all of those kind of things. It's understanding where that voice is coming from. And being able to have that counter statement, being able to to feel empowered and strong enough to
absolutely
just get monkey to shush for a little while, or understand even that it's monkey in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's understanding how that's your mind doing what it's meant to be doing under the circumstances you're in.
So we're obviously chatting on Zoom now. Have you had to change a lot in the last 18 months about the way the practice works?
Yeah, so I did a lot of sessions on Zoom, and actually it's quite effective. I was surprised. I was skeptical, I must admit, but I was surprised by how easy it was and how it's equally as effective. And sometimes if some people, when I do my initial free chat, they prefer Zoom because they want to see me and they want to talk to me in person. And it's a really great way of doing that, and for them to feel at ease and thinking, yeah, I could work with you. So it's a great way of, for those initial kind of overcoming those initial barriers, as well as being able to, you can suss people out just as well on Zoom as you can face to face. I mean, I am back doing face-to-face sessions now as well, with COVID protocols in place. But yeah, Zoom is so convenient for a lot of people. And
has this opened up your business to obviously a much wider area now?
Yes.
I guess it doesn't matter where someone lives; they can tap into Angie Hayes therapy wherever they are around the world.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm seeing people all over the country now. Yeah. It's gone national.
Definitely. On Zoom, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So actually anyone can tap into working with you if they're liking the sound of this, and I don't know why they wouldn't, because just feeling your energy on this call is so reassuring. If they wanted particularly to look for someone who was close to them and they weren't near us geographically, what would be your top advice for, we've acknowledged there are some people out there that even within the clinical hypnotherapy world do things differently. So what would your advice be if somebody wanted to find someone? How would they know that person was reputable? What credential? It's not all about the training and the number of letters after the name, but what would you look for if you were trying to find someone?
I think the most important thing, that there are loads and loads of bodies out there that it's purported you should belong to, lots and lots of professional bodies like the CNCH and all of this kind of thing. Now, all they are, anyone who's got a hypnotherapy qualification can pay a couple of £100 a year and belong to any body they like, as long as they've got a recognised qualification, okay? So whoopee-doo, so what? It just gets them on another website, adhering to another set of professional standards. All the professional standards are the same across all of the professional bodies. Some are better than others. My advice is go onto the National Council for Hypnotherapy website. If you go onto the National Council for Hypnotherapy, the NCH, anyone that's on there has to have done their full diploma. So not a weekend course. They have to do their HPD, which is a hypnotherapy and practice diploma. And it's a 10 to 12 month course. And you have to do case studies. You have to see people while you're training. You don't just get a qualification and go out there and start working with people. You get to practice on friends and family and people that are close to your friends and family for free under their supervision while you're training, so that, if there are any problems, it can be dealt with under supervision. Everyone that's on the NCH has to do at least 15 hours of continuous professional development every year, and they have to have a supervisor. They have to be supervised for the first 5 years. I've had my supervisor, and I will continue with the supervisor, because I think that's a great thing to have. If you've got a client that you're working with and things are getting stuck for that client, I can go to a supervisor and I can get them unstuck. Rather than and just look at new ways of working and different ways of working and different ways of approaching things. So there's all of that behind a person on the NCH. They've got their they've got their proper qualification. You can trust that qualification. I don't care what other professional bodies they belong to. I trained through the AFSFH, which is the Association for Solution Focused Hypnotherapies. And that's another important one, because Solution Focused Hypnotherapy was actually founded by Dr. David Newton, and the AFSFH is his membership body. Mm-hmm. It's his professional body. He founded it. He's the founder of Solution Focused Hypnotherapy. Whatever any approach anyone else uses, he developed the approach himself. So I learned from him.
Yep.
And anyone that's in his professional body is obviously far more attuned to the solution focused approach and they have been trained by the Clifton practice, which is a highly renowned practice. It's the gold standard of training across the world. It's global. So AFSFH or NCH. The others, they don't really mean anything. They just mean that hypnotherapists got an awful lot of money to spend on
a membership. Yeah.
Different memberships. It's just like joining a gym, it doesn't mean anything. Seriously, it really doesn't mean squat.
And as always, that conversation where you open yourself up to building a relationship with that person, and asking yourself those questions. Can I work with this therapist? Are they my kind of person?
Yeah, it's so important.
That I feel
speak to a few.
Yeah.
Speak and go with one that's right for you. Don't just accept what they say. If what they say doesn't resonate with you, just no, because we're all different, aren't we? I'm not going to resonate with people. There's no way I will resonate with everybody. I'm far too off the wall to resonate with everybody. I'm not your typical therapist. I've been through so much shit in my life. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, there. And yeah, I know it's shit, but we can get through this.
Yeah.
We can have a much better time. You see, my strap line, my passion, my mission is to heal people, because I really think if you heal the person, that tends to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when people say to me, oh, aren't we going to talk about the past and this, I say, no, I'm here to heal you so that you can deal with that in the way that's right for you.
It's very freeing, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're healed, it won't bother you. You won't give a monkey's whatsits about it. You'll be off living your life and thinking, well, whatever.
But the other thing that I love about you, Angie, is that you don't pull any punches.
No.
And you use real language. And right at the very top of this call, you started talking about finding yourself in trouble. Yeah. And it's interesting that a number of people will be like, well, that's a bit of a negative word, or, we don't like to talk. Actually, it is just that. It is that we find ourselves in a spot of bother, in a bit of trouble. We're having trouble dealing with things. We are in trouble because all of the mechanisms that we've used in the past to deal with stuff are not kicking in for whatever reason that is.
Yeah.
And we need to scrap so much of the stigma around the right words that we should use, because we want to make it sound, very gentle and fluffy, and it's okay. It's okay to find yourself in the shit, but what's not okay is staying there.
And and I get really saddened when I hear of these stories, and I can understand how they develop, these stories about, our amazing military personnel who are struggling and they don't reach out and they just go off and commit suicide. It pains me to the depths of my soul. It really does. It pains me because I didn't reach out, but all I can say is I should have, because I would have got there a lot sooner. It's not about reaching out and talking to somebody in depth about your problem. It's just saying, what can I do?
Yeah.
Where can I go?
It's that line, isn't it, of the I'm
it's
not
having
okay.
That being pointed in that direction. It's not necessarily reaching out to say, oh, I'm a weak person and look at the stupid situation I've got myself in and I can't, it's about, look, I'm feeling I need help. Where can I go? Yeah. It's as simple as that. You don't have to, as I call it, cast your pearls before swine and tell everyone all about everything that's going. It's just like, I recognize I need help. Where can I get it? Where can I go? And also recognizing that what's always available on the NHS isn't the solution for everyone.
Yeah. So when we talk about somebody and our faith in whoever we're working with having the answers inside them, I guess it's also the reassurance that if it's taking you everything you've got at the moment to say, I'm not okay, we're not going to say to you in session 1, well, you've got all the answers inside you, so it's just a matter of no, what are you going to do? It's that we believe that they are in there, but it's going to take time to work out what they are. So you're not expected to come up with those answers in session 1 when it's taken everything you've got to pick up the phone. Or
we will co-construct those as we go through. It's a co-construction of the life that you want. And we do that in so many varied ways. Like I will ask you questions like, if somebody said to me, I just want to feel happy. I said, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being I feel really happy and 0 being the complete opposite, where would you say you are? 2. Right, well, 2 is better than 0. So what puts you at a 2? Why do what tells you you're at a 2? Well, because I got out of bed this morning. Well, that's great. You see, we're looking for the tiniest signs of progress. This is baby steps. We're not talking about getting from A to Z in 3 sessions and boom, you're gone. You might do. You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised, because what we're actually doing, when I'm asking you questions about, so if you woke up tomorrow and you were happy, what would be different? And the first thing most people say is, I feel energized. Or they say, I go to the bathroom, which is, I skip the bathroom. Okay, what's the next thing you do? While you're thinking, well, actually, I'd be behaving like this, you're getting up into the left prefrontal cortex in your brain. And all of your solutions are coming from your own thinking, not my thinking, from your thinking about how life would be different for you if that preferred future was present. And it's that simple. And people think it's complicated and they think it's going to be difficult. Yeah, the questions can be difficult. And the reason they can be difficult is because you've never really thought about it before.
We haven't let ourselves, have we?
Haven't let yourself think about it. You're so wrapped up in the problem, understandably, that you can't see the wood for the trees. So the more time we spend up here, guess who's in control less and less?
Back in his box. So if someone wants to meet with you and Monkey, be that online or in person, that first step, that discovery call, is all of the information for that on your website?
It is, yeah. You can actually book all of your sessions through my website, the free initial chat. You can book an initial consultation. You can book a therapy session. You can book whatever you feel you want. But, the initial chat is totally free, and it's totally without any obligation, because I don't want anyone in therapy. I don't believe people should be in therapy. I think they should be out there thriving. So I don't want to have people in therapy that they don't want or need. I just want them to be thriving and enjoying life. That's all.
All of those details are going to follow in the website, in the slide that follows this recording.
Yes, absolutely.
And they will be attached to this podcast as well. So we'll make sure that everybody's got all those details. Just before we finish, Angie, what's coming up for the last part of this year, for the last part of, can't believe it's 2021. What have we still got to look forward to from Angie Hayes Therapy? Well,
I'm busy working on getting some video information out there, education. To start with, mostly generic, but then I will be touching sort of what Solution Focused Hypnotherapy is about, a bit of what we've discussed here, what trance is and all those kind of things, so that people can hop on YouTube or hop on the website and what's all this about. But I'm following that up with more detail around phobias and addictions and eating disorders and all those things that people suffer with, so they can get some information about, how do I know I'm struggling with this? What are the signs? And how has it all started? Where has it come from? And more importantly, how do I treat it?
Awesome.
So there'll be some little video series coming out. They probably won't, I'm working on the more generic ones first. So I suspect, the more detailed ones will follow later in the year and then in the start of the new year. So that's the next project for me. I've got a lot of work to do.
Awesome. Yes, but it's one of the things we're passionate about, isn't it? That education is so important such an important part.
Yeah, because wanting to find something simple, easy to understand, do I need help or don't I? What the hell's going on with me? How have I gotten into this situation, and how can I get out of it? Do I need help? You know, I'm trying to sort of take all the mystery out of it, because I don't think dealing with mental health is a difficult thing. Dealing with mental health problems, taking the first step is the difficult thing. Absolutely. The most important thing is that a person wants change in their life. Some people don't want change. Mm-hmm. And we have to respect that. Yeah. Some people just don't want to change. They have become identified with an illness and they want to stay, you know, if they've got a lot of people around them that are supporting them in that way, then they will identify with it more. Yeah. Which is why I'm more no nonsense, because I'm like, no, that's not who you are. You're a wonderful little soul that's put on this earth to enjoy life, and I don't want you putting that badge on yourself and living behind it. You know, no, that isn't you. Yeah. And you know, I see this with a lot of clients, especially with people that bring their children to see me. The parent wants one outcome and the child wants another. Yeah, and it's got to be the outcome that the child wants. Absolutely. Yeah. So, for example, I saw a lady with an eating disorder, and her parents wanted her to be completely cured of it. She said, no, I just want to be able to control it better. So that's what I have to work with on an ethical basis. It's her solution. She's got to manage it. She's got to cope with it in everyday life. It's got to be what she wants, not what they want. Otherwise, she won't change. Yeah. She'll be back. She'll be back in the future saying, oh, I want to get rid of it completely. I know she will. But she's got to be in that place when she's ready. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Angie, it's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you today. It's been amazing to talk to you, Beck. So much just from our time together. And I know people that are listening and watching will have done too. So we will put, as I said, all of your contact details after this video, and also attached to the podcast if you're listening to this instead of watching today. But I can't wait to get together in person. We're really not that far away. So I know, we must do it. We need to do that really soon. No excuses, it's got to be done. Absolutely, especially now the sun's shining here, and I hope it's on its way down to you. Yes, it's just starting. There you go, Steve. Sun shines on the righteous. Thank you so much for your time today, Angie. Oh, thank you, Beck. Thank you for being part of this project. And I know that you're going to be able to help out lots of our clients together. So really grateful. Oh, I'm so excited. But thank you for the time. I really enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you. See you soon. See you soon.